Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bright Founders Talk at Temi. Temi is an international software development company that designs, builds, and delivers software for sustainable businesses and promising startups. Welcome to our podcast, where we bring you the most inspiring stories of entrepreneurs and experts in the software development industry. Each week, we interview successful leaders who share their unique journeys and valuable insights. I'm your host, Barry. Now, today we're lucky enough to have a remarkable guest joining us, Thomas Jelle, who is CEO of MazeMap. Hello, Thomas. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Barry, and thank you for that introduction.
How are you doing today?
Doing fine, thank you. Yourself?
Yes, not too bad, can't complain. So firstly, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to speak with us. We do appreciate it. And before we start talking about MazeMap, if you wouldn't mind, would you tell us a little bit about yourself and the company that you work at?
I've started 4 companies before MazeMap, so you can kind of see that I've always been into kind of creating things and making a difference. I'm not sure if I'm a good fit for an 8-to-4 job, let's put it that way.
So, what kind of drew you to start MazeMap? Or let's ask a wider question. What drew you to entrepreneurship and starting companies in general?
I'm not sure if I have a really good answer to starting companies in general, Barry, but I have worked in a few companies like regular jobs for a shorter period. And I kind of felt that in the beginning you learn a lot because it's a new work, right? And it's can be exciting. But typically, if you're there for a few months, you don't necessarily, I didn't necessarily feel like I grew anymore, right? And the fun thing about being able to run your own company or companies is that you always need to learn. You always need to improve every single day. So I guess that's kind of, I'm not sure if I am answering your question, but I guess that's the best answer I have.
No, that's fine. Just be honest. That's perfect. So you kind of get bored of the regular 9-to-5 job. So are you a bit of an adrenaline junkie? Do you like the excitement? Do you like the change? The stability is something that you find boring and unenjoyable?
I don't think I'm well suited for routine tasks. Let's put it that way, right?
Okay, perfect. Lovely. Thank you so much. So let's talk about MazeMap then. What kind of company is it, and why did you feel the need to create this company?
A good question, Barry. MazeMap is a company doing indoor map and navigation services, and the purpose of the company is helping people finding either rooms or resources. And I guess if you can imagine a student coming to a new university, being able to find rooms, or if you're going to an appointment for a hospital, being able to find that room also is important, right? So that's the room part. Resources can be a little bit different. It can be kind of things which is at the same place, like it can be a meeting room, but has a status, right? It can be available or it can be booked, right? Or it can be high important medical equipment at a hospital, right? Which moves around and also have availability, like it can be available, not available. So the point at hand is we're trying to help people find either rooms or resources. So that's bottom line what we do. If I go back to the other part of your question was why did we start the company or was the starting point? I guess that's really what it boils down to is back in, I think it was 2012. We had a project going where we wanted to see how we could improve the experience for new students at a university. So what we did then was basically because we just wanted to see, okay, what are the things that's creating a negative student experience, right? And there's probably a lot of them. So what better way is there to find out that than following a student for the first week of the journey? So that's what we did. We basically followed a Sinna, which is a student, for the first week. And she encountered lots of challenges. I mean, she didn't have a network of friends because she moved from another town. She was unfamiliar with the campus. She was unfamiliar with studying in general. But one of the top things that came up that we thought, hey, this is actually something we can solve, it was that she was felt stressed and uncertain quite a few times because she was meeting up for quite a few places just for her first week. So in total, it was 50, as this 50 places just for the first week. And many of the times also she was delayed or came late to her appointments because she wasn't able to find her ways around in time.
So I think, please.
That's basically the starting point.
So I think I would have killed for an app like that when I was younger and I was at university, because I think universities are notorious for being a bit like mazes. So I would have loved an app like that when I was at university. So, I think it's great that someone's actually come up with such an app. So if you were to talk a little bit about yourself and your management style, like if you could think of 3 words to describe yourself, what 3 words would you use?
To describe myself, I think that's a tough challenge to do. But I think one of the things I hope is that I come across as someone having passion. And the reason why I'm saying that is because passion is starting companies usually takes a lot longer than what you think, and there's a lot more hurdles than what you think, right? And unless you have that passion, that drive for working those extra hours, and then it's really difficult to make it, right? So at the end of the day, I think passion is a person that becomes enthusiastic and passionate about something is one. Then I also think that I am a person that's able to and can tolerate kind of the ups and downs, if you may. I mean, like doing a startup and then a scale up is kind of like all the time there's, you have 1 or 2 wins and then there's 1 setback, 1 and 2 wins, then 1 setback. So you get knocked down, but you need to get up again fairly quickly, right? You can't mull for a week or 2, right? Then you're kind of, So you can mull, but leave it for hours or a day at max, right? And get back on your feet, right? So that would be my second. Not really sure, but I think I'm curious and want to see if I can have an impact, right? See if I can make a difference in someone's lives. Yeah.
Perfect. So there's really interesting character traits to have, and they are kind of common for entrepreneurs. So I think those kind of qualities seem to be very well represented in businesses and startups. So you mentioned some challenges along the way there. How do you manage those challenges? I mean, it's always good when you're riding high and everything's going the way that you want it, but those challenges where things don't go quite the way that you expected, how do you handle them?
It depends on what kind of challenges it is, right? And I think as a founder and someone running a company, you will see different kinds of challenges happening every week or even every day at some point, right? So how do you deal with them? I don't think I have a general recipe, and this is how you just deal with challenges. So I think it's depending on what is the issue at hand, right? Is it a organizational issue? Is it a human issue? Is it a process issue? Is it a tech issue? But at the end of the day, I think if I'm going to give you one answer, it kind of boils down to, try to find the root cause of what is not working, right? Or what is the challenge, and kind of work on that, right? Start from there. Instead to try to mend on things that's sometimes you need to kind of try to dig down, what's the root cause of things not working, and let's see if we can change that, right?
Perfect. And what would you say was the biggest learning point for you in your multiple startups? Has there been a point where you thought, actually, that's the one that made me learn the most?
So I need to think a little bit about that one.
Of course.
At the end of the day, you need to be able to have multiple learnings, right? But maybe this one, maybe this one. So I think when I started some of the first companies, or the first company, I think my mindset was more into, if we build a perfect product, if we just get the product out there and if it works, and we just start telling the world about it, that it will sell itself. So I think there are many founders, especially tech founders in the start, that have this perception, right, that the product will sell itself. And I think that's kind of where I underestimated or did the most crucial mistake, right? Because at the end of the day, what you need to do to be successful is that, you need to build a product, and that's really important, right? And you need to have a product which differentiates, that has high quality and all of that, right? But that's just a part of the puzzle, right? So I usually say that if you're gonna, in my opinion, if you're gonna be successful in running a startup or a scale up, you need to kind of invest equal amount in product development sales and marketing, and then you need to have an equal amount investment in to handle unforeseen things that happens, right? Like goes back to challenges, right? So I usually say 1-1-1, and the relationship between them is, so if you spend 10 million US on product development, well, you need to put aside 10 million for sales and marketing and 10 million for other things that happens, right? If that makes sense.
Now, when you're kind of going through that experience where you have these hardships and then you come up with the solutions, do you always find that the solutions that you come up with work, or do you find that sometimes you might need to hit it with a different hammer?
All my solutions doesn't work, right? Still. But I think if you go 20 years back, I think my ratio of things that work now versus what worked 20 years ago is a lot higher, right? So that's improvement, right? That's going in the right direction. So at the end of the day, but still, no, I don't think anyone is able to get anything perfect, right? And the person or the founder or people that are running a company tell you, in our place, all challenges are dealt with in a perfect way. I don't think they are blunt at lying. Yeah.
I like your honesty. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. In a similar role, do you, as a CEO, like to wear lots of hats? Do you like to know everything about all things, or do you rely on other people to carry, for example, any shortfall in knowledge that you may have?
I think when you're at very early stages of a startup, it is doable to have all the knowledge and make all the decisions yourself and kind of run it that way. But once you grow to a certain stage, that is no longer feasible, right? Any day just have 24 hours, right? So that is very important, that you're able to find a good team around you and that you're able to, as much as possible, let others have the responsibility of their task, right? So, because if you're going to grow, you need to build that team around you and you need to kind of give them the opportunity both to succeed, but also to fail, unfortunately, right? So that's how it is. And then you need to kind of guide and mentor and, of course, also make decisions when need be. But at the end of the day, like I'm not very involved in any tech in MazeMap anymore. That's a long time ago since I was. So my focus now is more on making sure that we're building the right organization, setting the strategy, and also quite a bit on the sales and go-to-market part, right? Making sure that we're able to execute on that and helping our sales team globally. That's more kind of the tasks that I'm carrying out these days.
Perfect. Do you ever have any nostalgia for the old days, like when it was a small company and you knew everyone and you knew everything, before it turns into a behemoth or a juggernaut, and it's kind of like riding you and you kind of grab control?
How do I answer that question? So I think any stage in a company lifetime has its beauties and its faults, right? Or whatever you want to call it. Like just like I don't know if you're a parent, Barry, but like parents, they will love the child when they're this newborn, right? Because it's so cute and so amazing, right? And then it starts talking, it starts walking, and then 3-4 it starts getting annoying, right? But still with some other pros and cons, right? Getting more independent, right? So I think at the end of the day, that's a little bit like how it is to run a company as well, right? You have those things that was a lot better before, right? So if we go like 6-7 years back, I knew everyone in the team, right? And we were so aligned. We didn't need meetings, right? Or sync points, or right? Because we were talking all the time, right? Exchanging information and everything was just floating around and decisions were made in a split second and everyone was aligned and we were moving in the same direction, right? That's not possible once you pass 20 people and now we're past 50 people, right? So then, and we have people all over the world in a global organization. So the kind of that really tight relationship with all your colleagues, that's no longer possible, right? So yes, there are some things which were, you could say, better before, right? But at the end of the day, we're having a lot more impact now, right? For me, that's more important, right?
Yeah, I love the analogy of children and raising children. I suppose when they get to 18, that's the equivalent of selling the company, right? It's like, right, I don't want any more of this. I'm washing my hands and I'm off. So I find that funny. So thank you for sharing that. It's a really, really interesting insight into your mind there. Thank you. So let's just talk a little bit about work-life balance. Are you able to achieve work-life balance? And if you are, how do you do it?
What does work-life balance mean?
It means a lot to different people. So do you find yourself thinking, actually, I don't need to have any downtime. I want to work all the time? Or are you the kind of person that says, yeah, actually, I need to work, but there's a point where I have to recharge, I have to step away from work? Which kind of person are you?
Somewhere in between, right? So I think at the end of the day, I work more than the average person, no doubt. But then again, and most of the time, I can say it's for joy, right? So I don't need any hobbies besides the kind of building and running a company, right? I think that's a hobby by itself. But do I do other things? Yes, and you need to be able to have kind of that mental switch off as best as you can, right? And I'm saying, I wish I was better at that, right? So yeah, I wish I was better at that. But I do ski, I do play soccer, I do other things, right? And try to work out and spend time with family. And when I'm on vacation, I usually try, and I'm saying try, to kind of stay completely off, right? So yeah, to the extent where, okay, I do carry my laptop to my vacation, but I try not to open it too much, right?
Perfect, thank you. I suppose if you make a successful business, you don't get to be in a successful business by being very hands off all the time. So I think it's kind of natural that there would be some desire to maintain control or foresight or just keep an eye on the challenges. So it does make sense, to be honest with you. Are you a morning person? Are you an evening person? When do you function best?
I can be tired in the mornings, but then again, I can be tired in the evenings, right? So I think I think you can get really productive moments before everyone else comes to work if you want to, right? So it's very quiet and it's kind of like. And then again, you can have, if you still have the energy when everyone else goes home from work, right? So I'm not sure. If you asked me 10 years ago, I'd say I'm an evening person. And as I grew a little bit older, I'd say, okay, now I'm a little bit more like a morning person. So maybe in between.
Yeah, I think that's a journey that all of us have been on as we start. I hesitate to say get older, but I think you do kind of. I think some people, as they get older, do tend to be more of a morning person. So I think that's a journey that many of us have been on or will be on. Do you have any like quotes or mottos for your life and the way that you run your business? Are there any like guiding philosophies that you abide by?
I think there are many. I think one that's, or maybe a few. One I keep reminding myself of is that, which I think it's originally an African proverb that says something like this: "If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together." So I want to go fast, and I want to go fast all the time, right? Because at the end of the day, especially when you're young, and so we're still only 60 people, right? And like. Being able to have speed and execution is imperial to be able to win in the long run, right? And once you are kind of a big company like the big tech companies, then you can afford being a little bit slower, right? Because you have the market share, you have everything, right? So that's one that I keep reminding myself of a lot. Case, yeah, you need to get the rest with you, right? And I think there's one more thing, and I'm not sure if that's kind of a motto, but there's many that say I must do. I must do this today. I must do that. I must do, and I kind of, it's possible to flip that, right? I get to do this. I get to do that. I'm actually quite privileged to be able to do these things that I'm doing.
Are you a creative person or not? This could be a prediction of the next question, so be as honest as you can, because I might change the question depending on the answer.
Yeah. I think I'm quite creative. I'm not like art or into that direction, but quite creative in terms of seeing possibilities, and especially linking tech and business, right? Kind of connecting those dots, which is kind of where, maybe I'm better than the average person, to be honest, right?
Okay, perfect, nice. So I was going to ask you about a movie poster and how would you create a movie poster of your company, but then that kind of falls into the artistic, doesn't it? So shall I ask you a nicer question? So you talked about impatience or drive to go forward. Is there a stage where you think like this is a stabilization phase in the company? We need to hold back and not grow anymore, or are you always in growth mode?
I love that question. Okay. So I told you about the story about Sinna, the student in the beginning, right? And I'll actually complete that story for you right now. So what we then thought is, okay, we think we can help Sinna being able to find her ways around, right? And then it was kind of like, we think we can do that, but is there a market for this? And then it was kind of like, okay, there's 8,000 new students arriving at this particular university every single semester. So 8,000, okay. And how many universities are there in the Western world? Well, then we did the multiplier. And then we foresee that others going to, like, as we spoke about initially, going to a hospital has the same kind of set of challenge, or if you're going to other public buildings. So then we kind of, okay, there's 80 million students in the Western world having the same challenges every single year. And if we adding the other verticals, we're basically saying that, okay, there's 1 billion people having the same frustration, the same uncertainty, and wasting time as Sin had. So then we set the goal of, okay, we want to help 1 billion users. So does that answer your question? We're not there yet.
Yeah, I'm sure you will reach it as well. But yes, that definitely does answer my question. Perfect, thank you. So again, with the growth comes opportunity and adding extra people to your company. Now, what kind of qualities are you looking for in people who potentially you want to join your company and work with you?
That depends a little bit on, of course, what position we're gonna fill as well, of course. But I think my general answer would be that I want someone that is better than me at the function they are doing, right? And kind of like, without sounding too cocky, sometimes you're able to find that and then do that, and other times not, right? Then you have to kind of work with that or change, right? So I think that's if you're able to do that, if you're able to find people that are better than yourself at the tasks that you no longer want to do, right? Or you no longer want to have responsibility for. I think that's maybe the short answer to your question. And there's a lot of other things I look for when I hire people, right? And I go back to kind of what I've said a few times before, right? So, and I think maybe you heard this before as well, right? If you have an A product and a B team, or you have a B product and an A team, I will always choose the B product and an A team, right? Because the A team will make that product work, right? So at the end of the day, finding those skilled individuals that's able to help you on the journey and have fun while you do it.
Perfect, great answer. So you've done a lot of companies yourself, but is there anyone like an entrepreneur or someone very successful that you'd like to swap roles with one day just to see what you could learn from them?
Swap roles with, or have as a mentor.
Either. Go for it, whichever you like.
So I've been fortunate to meet many of the founders of great companies, tech companies throughout the years. And one that's always, so he's not that impressive, or wasn't, at least back in the old days, in person, but one of them which is kind of stuck in my mind, which has kind of a fantastic brain and which I would love to learn from, is Elon Musk. So you can, I know it's kind of like, but at the end of the day, I met him a few times, and this was before he went into Tesla. And I'll just share with you. So when he said, because I also had a ICT startup before which he had as well, right? So when he said, okay, now I'll launch the family car, electric Tesla, it took me 30 seconds to pre-order that, right? And I believe in this guy. I'm in. So my answer would be not to, but to have as a mentor, not to replace. I don't think I would be in his shoes, just to be clear.
I think he's a popular person to choose, and it's understandable why many people would choose them because he's very prominent and he's just an amazing person and an amazing drive. So I think that was probably why he's often picked and he is inspirational. So let's talk about you being an inspiration. So let's say there's people watching this now, they're entrepreneurs, they're wanting to follow in your footsteps or Elon's footsteps, and they're kind of holding back a little bit. Well, maybe they view them equally, who knows? But if they are looking to do that, what advice would you give to someone who is in that very early stages, maybe doesn't have the confidence?
Number one, get your shit out there. I mean, start selling as soon as you can. Many think that they need to perfect the product and they have in their own minds kind of the perfect idea of how the product should be. And then you go to market and most of us are wrong, right? So get your shit out there as soon as you can, start selling, get feedback from your customers and learn. I think that's one. And number two is I think don't, like we talked about earlier, don't think that the product will sell itself because most product won't. There's very, very few that will, right? Kind of try to think, okay, don't underestimate the sales and marketing and other stuff, like do the 1-1-1. And if you're able to do that, I think you'll be quite successful. Third advice would be measure success from day one. So how do you create value for customers? What is it and how do you measure it? And try to measure everything, right, in terms of how you create value. And like in MazeMap, every time we help someone, at average, we save them 3 minutes, right? And now we're having 3 million users per month. So actually, we're saving those users 8 million minutes per month, right? And that's easily translatable into money as well for our customers, right? So that's one of the things we do measure. So make sure that you find your way to measure success and scale it and use it. Use it to convince your customers, your partners, and investors.
Thank you again for taking time out of your day to speak with us. It has been an absolute pleasure talking with you.
Likewise, Barry, and thanks for having me.
No problem at all. That was Thomas Jelle, CEO of MazeMap.